Hi, Melissa.
Hey, Ida, good to see you.
Good to see you too. How's it going?
Good, good. How are you?
Good, thank you.
We're so glad to have us with you today.
Thank you. Actually, looking at my module, thinking about the presentation, I realized I'm in a more decent position than I thought. I'm still not in a good place, but there's a lot that is done, and it's pretty much just ready for problems. And just this morning, for one of the modules that I want to talk about, or one of the subsections that I want to talk about, I just created the problem. So
awesome.
Yeah, it should be ready by, I want to say, the end of the weekend, because I'm traveling next week. So I just want to pass it on to you guys for review and feedback by the end of this weekend.
Fantastic. Well, we look forward to seeing it.
Thank you. I was wondering if I can share my screen.
Yeah, so we're going to start off with some agenda and check-in, and then I'll introduce you, and then we'll let you share your screen. Do you want to share now to show me something, or do you mean during your presentation?
I mean, I'm fine with doing that during the presentation. Just now when I click on it, it says you cannot start screen share while the other participant is sharing. So
right, so you can't start it while I'm sharing, but now you can start it if you wanted.
Okay, gotcha. That's all I needed to know.
Perfect. Yep. Yeah, I just have to stop sharing so you can.
Okay, gotcha.
Sorry
to bother you.
Yeah, not a problem at all. Okay, I gotta go take care of something, but I'm really looking forward to your presentation.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good morning, this is Dave.
Hey Dave, how are you doing?
Great, and you?
Good, I like your shirt.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. Everybody ready for the weekend?
Yes, I bet you are.
I am. I'm getting married tomorrow, so I'm very ready for this weekend.
You've got that rosy-colored happy glow on your face.
Yes, very excited for it. Happy to make it official, I guess. Make it legal. Hey Jenny, how are you doing? How are you doing, Jenny?
Hi.
She's survived the thunderstorms of Louisiana, have you?
Yes.
How long were you without power yesterday?
Until like 7.
So just as soon as that last fellows group finished meeting is when your power came back on?
It finished at 7?
At least,
5, 6:30.
at least you had power to cook dinner.
Guess so, luckily.
But that's a long time for the power to be out.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty bad. I think we're like the last on the list because it's not like I live in a neighborhood, so they get to us last.
Gotcha.
We're kind of used to it.
And when I lived in Lafayette, I lived right by the hospital, and it was great because they never wanted the hospital to lose power, so we were always.
Yeah. Oh, I wanted to let you know, Melissa, I haven't forgotten about trimming the videos. I've just had a really hard time doing it. Like,
Oh, really?
yeah, I tried a video editor that's just came with Windows 10 and it would crash at the last moment. And then I downloaded one, like an app that says it'll trim videos, and it said it would take 17 hours to process that. So
Wow.
today I'm just going to look for something online because trimming videos should not be this hard.
It should not be that hard at all.
I've been able to trim videos in YouTube.
Oh.
That's a good point. We could post to YouTube. It might take a really long time to post. It's the whole 7-hour meeting from Monday and Tuesday, which is.
Well, I've posted 1.5-hour lectures on YouTube. They do take a while to upload.
Mm.
And I don't know if anybody ever watches them, but
I see your videos making their way into our fellows' discussions, don't I? Or are those not your lectures?
maybe the first minute and not the 65th minute.
It's a long time to sit and listen.
The good thing, I found that my videos are good to watch at about 1.5 times speed, because you can still actually hear what I'm saying, and it sounds like I'm speaking a whole lot faster, which gets through the material pretty quickly.
Actually, that's one thing I like about audiobooks. So I listened to the book Becoming by Michelle Obama, and I tried to listen to it on regular speed, and it was so slow. It was like painful. But when I put it on 1.5 times speed, I loved it. So
Okay.
it's good to have that option.
I guess I listened to that at regular speed. So.
Oh, did you?
Well, I'm not sure. Maybe I actually read the paper copy. No, I think I listened to it on audio.
And it might just be that the beginning was a little slower starting anyway. But. Hey, Dan. Hey, did you put the slides for today in the folder already?
Sorry, Melissa, what?
Did you put the slides for today in the folder already?
Yeah, I did.
All right, thank you. All right, so we'll wait about 1 more minute and then we'll go ahead and get started. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone to day 5 of the hackathon. I wanted to give you just kind of a reminder of the overview of these 2 weeks. We started off talking about learning objectives and planning our module outline, talking about authentic tasks and learning activities, then aligning those to rubrics, then working more on the constructive alignment. Today we're going to talk about designing instructional content. So that's those background pieces, the information that students need in order to be successful on the learning activities. And next week, we'll also continue to talk about instructional alignment, giving you during your work time flexibility to work on whether it's learning activities or instructional content or learning objectives, whatever you need to work on to keep your module moving forward. Also, today is a half day, which means that we do ask that you work until for about an hour and a half with your partners after our work time, after our session time. Although, of course, you have flexibility in when you do that work with your partner, but we'll be around to help you for about an hour and a half after our meeting this morning. We're not going to have an afternoon content group meeting, but we'll share in our content groups on Monday afternoon. So today we just have this morning session and then followed by partner work time. And then we have 4 days left together next week. So getting pretty exciting today is our halfway point, I suppose. So this morning we're gonna have a presentation first from a previous fellow from cohort 1 who's just wrapping up her module, and we'll share with you some of the cool things that she's done. We'll talk about active learning in an online format, so how you can integrate things more than just an hour and a half long video lecture or pages and pages of text in order to keep that online content a little more engaging. And then also designing instructional content with the idea of constructive alignment in mind. So our goals are to continue to design content that clearly aligns with learning objectives and learning activities, otherwise known as constructive alignment, to use multiple modes of instruction to deliver content within HydroLearn, such as text, images, videos, screenshots, iframes. We have lots of different options for you with that. To integrate check your understanding activities to support students' comprehension and kind of self-regulation of their comprehension of the content. And to begin working on an instructional content unit in HydroLearn. So I thought we would do a whole group check-in again this morning where we talk about HydroLearn. At this point, you've talked about lots of different things in your teams. So what are some external resources that you are thinking about including in your module? Go ahead and type those in the text box, chat box, or if you want to unmute yourself and jump in, you can share with the whole group that way. Lots of different ideas populating in the in the chat box. Codes, readings, Jupyter notebooks, previously collected data. I like that Willie qualified his videos as high quality instructional videos. Appreciate that. My Google Maps, that's a really cool tool. Tutorials, graphics. All right, so people are already thinking about a lot of the things we're going to talk about today, which is great. We'll talk about them in two ways today. One, kind of the technical how-to, and then two, how that helps students learn and comprehend. Tao is going to integrate another HydroLearn module. I think that's really cool. Oops, I jumped slides. So today we have here with us today Dr. Ida Farrow. She is one of our fellows from cohort 1, and she is really a great person. I really like her. So Ida, I'll let you go ahead and share and tell us a little bit about yourself and your work.
Sure. Thank you, Melissa. And it's so great to see everybody. New faces and some people that I've met before through HydroLearn community. So I really was excited about being a part of HydroLearn to begin with. This is a great community. So what I'm going to share with you is a little bit about the course that I teach, first of all. But before that, I'm a faculty in the geology department at Kansas State University. I'm a marine geologist / geophysicist. My data collection is on cruises in the ocean, so it's not, when I was looking at your comments about case studies and data collection, incorporating all of that, for me, for the course that I teach, that would be super complicated to incorporate, but it's really great to see other people can actually do that. So the course that I teach is hydrogeology. It's an advanced geology course. However, the prerequisites to the course is Geology 100, which is physical geology, and Geology 115, which is environmental geology. So a lot of non-majors have those prerequisites, and they do require for their majors to take an advanced course with a prerequisite or an advanced science course or something like that. So I do have both majors and non-majors in my class, and both undergraduate and graduate students. Most of the graduate students, however, are in their second semester of their master's degree. So there's a really wide range of background knowledge that are taking this course. So for that reason, my course is a very, very introductory water-related course. And I'm sure by now you've seen the Bloom's taxonomy as a part of, as a very substantial part of the HydroLearn material. My course will mostly cover the lower levels of the Bloom's taxonomy, which are remember and understand. Most of the students that take my course either have just had a week of a college level water related chapter, or nothing at all. So for the most part, everything that I include are very, very introductory. And I have actually included this in my course description for anyone else who would eventually adapt my module to know that this is very introductory. So what I'm going to talk about today is adding videos, and I will go back and forth between the PowerPoint and my HydroLearn module. But before I actually start that, let me share, there we go, my screen. So this is my course outline. I have 5 sections in there. I'm sorry if I misuse the term module, because I use Canvas. Modules in Canvas have a different term, so I try to make sure I use the right terminology. So these are, I have 5 sections in my HydroLearn module, and some of them are very basic, like the hydrologic model. Some of them are applied. Some of them are a little bit more advanced into groundwater. What I'm going to talk about for the most part today, and although everything is orange, most of it is done. There's just one page, which is the problems that are not published. That's why it looks orange, or else it should be blue, really. The structure of my sections are a summary, a learning objective, recommended reading and videos, an activity, and then the problems. And I have tried to stay consistent with a similar structure, just to help students progress through this, because the more they go through the sections, they get used to the repetitive structure of these sections. So that's one of the things that I wanted to make sure that my course has. And one of the other things that I want to address, actually, let me use this module that I want to talk about more, is the importance of including a summary at the beginning to just give a heads up on what the students are going to learn. And this is separate from learning objective. It doesn't have to be extensive. It's just probably just one sentence saying that you're going to read about flooding, storm surge, and tsunamis. You would think that since the title of the section is that, they would pay attention to that, but you'll be surprised. So giving them that summary is definitely useful. So one of the, this is the module that, this is the section that I particularly wanted to cover today. The section, or the main focus of this section, is to understand evolution of human population distance to water, or evolution of the human population distance to water. And this is really under the water-related hazards in US section. The main reading of this is a Nature paper. As many of you know, Nature publications are short. They are supposedly very straightforward and clear. Luckily, this manuscript is like that. So, and it's publicly available. So they don't need any kind of, they can access this reading through even their home internet. So with this, I wanted to emphasize the importance of using open source material. Our school has had a large initiative on encouraging faculty to use open source and open access and alternative textbooks for their courses. And with that initiative, what I have done is actually use manuscripts a lot. And I saw that popped up in the chat as well. So that could potentially help in moving towards not making students buy textbooks. That's one thing that I wanted to talk about. The other thing, which is the main focus of, supposedly the main focus of my presentation, is the videos. I use a lot of videos. I personally like videos. I think it helps students learn along with the readings. Very commonly, I use TED Ed videos. So this is an example of a video that is in my hydrologic cycle section. And I wanted to just simply walk you through adding a video and what are the things that you might want to consider when you're adding a video to your course. So now I'll go back to my PowerPoint presentation and make sure that's on the screen. Yes. So my first recommendation is definitely use YouTube URLs. If you use websites, very commonly organizations change their pages, change the videos on their pages, and your URLs might just go inactive within a few months. So even if you find your video on a website that is not YouTube, look it up on YouTube. 99.9% of the time, the official videos are actually on YouTube, and it's more permanent. So the organizations that create the videos actually permanently keep them on YouTube. They might move them around, take them off of their active websites, but it will definitely remain on YouTube. Another really, really good thing about YouTube is that it automatically has closed captions. So you don't have to add that. We want our material to be ADA compliant. So adding a video without having closed captioning is not necessarily the best instructional material. So make sure that one of the good things that, one of the good reasons to use YouTube is that the closed captions are definitely there. So I want to just briefly talk about those closed captions. When you incorporate a video or when you bring in a video to your page on HydroLearn, you can paste the URL of the video, and within a matter of a second, it will let you know if it was able to pull the transcript off of that video or not. Everything on YouTube has closed captions, but not all transcripts will be transferred to HydroLearn. And I don't know why that is, but for the videos that I have, many of the transcripts have been transferred, some of them have not. Oops, sorry. However, including a YouTube video will give the opportunity to the students to click on that page and open it on YouTube and use the closed caption on YouTube itself. So even if edX is not able to find or to link the transcript to your HydroLearn page, the people who use the closed captioning know that it is on YouTube and they can use it on YouTube. If the transcript is transferred, you'll see this double column or semicolon icon, and obviously you're all familiar with the CC icon. So I have two examples here to show you. One is this video that the closed captioning or the transcript was transferred with it, and automatically it actually puts the transcript text here while I can turn it on and off on the video as well. If I turn it off, turn off the text transcript, I can turn it back on the video or turn it off on the video and just follow it here. The other video that I wanted to share is this one that actually, as you can see, it doesn't have any of those icons. So the transcript were not transferred with the YouTube link. And let me make sure you see this new screen. Yes. So here's the URL, and there's the message that edX wasn't able to find the time transcript on there. However, if I click on this and open it on YouTube, it does have its transcript. If you're doing this and if you face a problem like this, it might be worth putting it somewhere on this page that, or near the video, that closed captions are available on the YouTube link, and everybody for the generation that's going to be using these course material know that if they click on this YouTube icon, this will open on the YouTube page. So this was a very important thing that I wanted to cover. And also note that apart from YouTube, edX can use all of these other video files. I have stuck to the URLs from YouTube for the reasons that I mentioned. A couple of short other items to consider are using action verbs. You would think if there's a video, they will know that they have to watch it, but this is true for everything else. If you have a text, say read it. If you have a video, say watch it. It just helps, excuse me, just helps the instructions a lot easier for them to follow. Make sure your videos are a task and not just a fun video to watch. make sure that it's, I usually put it along with the reading to make sure that they watch it for sure. As you know, the attention span, as you're probably aware of the attention span problem, you want to make sure that the videos are short. We don't want a 45-minute video of a class lecture in there because they'll just lose their attention. And in your problems and in your questions, definitely ask questions related to the video as well as the text. So I wanted to share or go back to this page where I had a nature manuscript, and then I have a very short video that is just basically data related to agriculture and water. And then the next page on here, on this section, are the problems that they have to answer. And I have I forgot to take out the common text for the question, but the questions are right below that. I just noticed that. I was like, what is OLX? So I forgot to take out the template comment for the questions on edX, but I've asked them questions about the reading and about the video and the link between the two and so on. So this is pretty much all I have, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. I just want to also bring your attention to a session that we're chairing with a few colleagues on geoscience education in the food, energy, and water nexus. GSA 2020 is fully virtual, and look forward to seeing abstracts related to HydroLearn, actually. So hopefully that was helpful. Let me know if you have any questions or comments. Comments for me to improve my module overall.
That was great, Ida. Thank you so much. Does anyone have comments for Ida or questions? You could put them in the chat, or you could unmute and jump in. Oh, thanks. Alex is giving you a compliment there, Ida.
Thanks, Alex.
Have you used this module for, for example, for 2020 semester, you know, entirely virtual environment presentation? How do you feel if you use?
I'm not sure if it was just me, but that was a little bit broken up. Tao, would you mind asking the question again? Thanks for typing.
Yeah. So there's a comment about feedback from students. Last semester when I was teaching the course, I didn't actually use Studio because I wasn't completely done. And I needed to prepare my students for a new learning management system. So I will actually incorporate, I had the same structure, but in Canvas, but starting next spring, I will actually make my students use it in the Studio environment. Great question. I have not used it completely in a virtual format, but my courses are generally very LMS heavy and I have not completely developed the assessments on it either. The videos, as I said, I incorporate them with the reading. So the questions are not watch a video, answer a question. I give them a short reading. My readings are not long either because again, attention span. But so there's a short reading, there's a short video, and then like 5 or 6 questions. So I try to make it very straightforward. But as I said, I haven't incorporated this fully in class to have student feedback on it just yet. Great question. Yes, Jenny.
I was going to answer Mark's question about uploading video content directly to HydroLearn. You can upload videos as a file into the files and uploads. However, there's probably a limitation on file size. I'm not sure exactly what that number is. So it may be better that you put it into YouTube first and then, you know, either embed it in an iframe or use that video component with closed captions. You're welcome, Mark.
And YouTube will add the closed captions, and it usually does a pretty good job of doing closed captions accurately.
So I wanted to address Freddie's question about having open-ended questions in HydroLearn for large classes. And I do teach large classes. My hydrogeology class is not a large section. I have between 10 to 20 students usually. I try to avoid open-ended questions for large classes because that would require the instructor to grade those open-ended questions, and it's very time-consuming. I usually just have literally one activity a semester that has one open-ended question. And the large lectures that I have are 180 students or so. So it's just, you know, just either, so on Canvas, there's the option of having that question as a survey where no matter what they write, as soon as they submit it, it will just be graded. But sometimes they just submit blanks. So I just go in and check to see if it's not blank. On HydroLearn, however, I don't think we have the option of survey where it would just grade it as soon as there's a submission. So I don't plan on having open-ended question for a large section. Oh, cool.
Any other questions or feedback for Ida?
So yeah, my module is already published, although I haven't incorporated it in class. It's already published on HydroLearn, so you should be able to take a look at it. And if you have any comments or feedback, even later, obviously more set of eyes is better. I'll be happy to receive any comments or feedback.
Excellent. And before you go, Ida, Laura actually has a workaround for viewing YouTube videos that don't import the closed captioning into HydroLearn. So if you want to hang out for a minute. And,
yeah, absolutely.
All right, Laura, I'll let you take it away and show us that workaround that you've figured out.
Sure. So I'm going to share my screen real quick. So yeah, there is a couple of ways to insert videos into HydroLearn, and this one we do recommend because it's a little bit, like Miss Melissa said, a workaround. So I'll show you how to do that now using an iframe. So for example, you would go into your module, into the place that you want to put your video, and then you can insert an iframe using the iframe tool. And then you go to the video that you want to insert, and you would actually copy the embed code here. And so what that's going to do is whenever you go to your iframe, you'll edit it, and then you'll click this HTML here so you can edit the source code, and you can actually just replace it with the entire code that you just copied from YouTube, that embed code. And you can change the size of it here. So you might want to, you know, change the width and the height so that the student's able to see it a little differently, just for ease of visibility. And then when you save that to your module, what happens when the student clicks it is they immediately get that option for closed captioning right here. So they can choose to turn it on or choose to not, depending on what they would like. And I think all of the YouTube videos have that embed code. You cannot just copy and paste this code, this link here, because it won't turn into the iframe directly. So you do need to right click and copy that embed code to get the closed captioning kind of available for all the videos. But again, there's several ways to insert videos, but this one seems to give that choice right away. Ms. Melissa, do you want me to continue with the tech things, or you have some more information first?
I have some more information first, but Chao is also asking about how is this different than the other way to insert a video. So could you insert that same video in that same place using the insert?
Sure. So here is the video component, which is another option. And so you can click video here, and then you can edit, and you can directly copy the URL from YouTube. So for example, I can copy here and paste that right into this video component. And then, as I said, it immediately tells you that right here, there's no time transcript that's been transferred from YouTube. So you'll just need to note that whenever you save it, there's not a transcript that comes with the video for this option. But the good thing is that these are in separate components. So whenever you're typing your text, for example, for a learning activity, you would stop typing your text, insert a new component, and insert your video. And then you can move these to reorder however you would like. And then whenever you're ready to resume typing your text, you'll just create a new text component and keep typing your text for your learning activity.
Laura, there's also a way where inside the text box you can actually insert a video, but it doesn't work the best, right? So we prefer to use those two tools.
Yes, sir.
So Alex asked a question about if the size of the iframe scales so that if you were then to open it on a mobile device, it would still be a good size.
Jenny, you might maybe know a better answer. I'm actually not sure.
Did we ever try to look at maybe between the different devices? I'm not sure.
I haven't tried to open on an iPhone, for
Right,
example, so I'm not sure.
There's actually an advanced setting to make your entire module mobile friendly. If you go to settings, advanced settings, scroll down to mobile friendly and press, I think you have to enter true or something. I haven't tested this myself. However, if you want to tinker with that, that would probably make everything mobile friendly and will make the iframes adjustable to viewing on a mobile phone. But again, I'm not for certain.
Laura, can we ask you to play around with that and double check that for us? Thanks, Alex, for posing a good question that pushes our thinking. Any other questions on the videos or questions for Ida?
Is there any suggestion, or I guess what's the drawback of making everything mobile friendly? I guess as an accessibility issue, it seems like we would all want to by default make everything mobile friendly, but I don't know the drawbacks or all the issues that might be related to that.
And I don't either. So I think that's part of having Laura play around with it to see how it works, because I agree with you that if we could make everything mobile friendly, more people have smartphones than laptops. And so that might be more equitable to have make sure everything were mobile friendly. But we just want to make sure, have her play with it and make sure that things do scale and look right on the mobile device. I think that's a great question, Christina. All right, well, Ida, thank you so much for your time today, for all the work that you've done, and for sharing that with us. We really appreciate having you here.
Thank you. Thanks for everybody and for your great questions. I hope you guys enjoy your time with HydroLearn. It's awesome.
Thanks so much. And another plug to feel free to submit your abstracts, right, Ida?
Yes, yes, GSA 2020. And our session is session T241.
When is the deadline for AGU again, you said? Oh, this is not AGU, I'm sorry. Okay.
GSA. They haven't, they're going to open, GSA is going to open the abstract submission website early July.
Okay.
And I think because everything is virtual, they're going to give people more time for submissions. Yeah.
And I should say that Ida and her cohort of fellows did not receive all the formal training that we did this time. So I, thank her for, I'm sure they had to work harder to bring the module to the status that she showed us today. But just thank you, Ida, for your hard work.
Yeah, no, thank you. It's been a great experience, honestly, to work with another LMS, really. And the, this session that we've submitted is a collaboration between me and Corey that met through the HydroLearn cohort. So I'm sure everybody knows that there's a lot of great collaborations that are going to come out of this group.
That's awesome. That's great to hear, Ida.
Right.
Well, have a good weekend and have a good vacation next week.
Thank you. Bye.
You're welcome. Bye. All right, so Jenny is going to share with us how to enroll students in your module. Actually, Jenny, I'll let you share to talk about that.
Sure. Here we go. So, of course, there's more detailed information in HydroLearn 101 if you follow this link here. I'll start with the most basic setting for your module, and this is course visibility for unenrolled learners. And what we mean by an unenrolled learner is anyone who stumbles upon hydrolearn.org and clicks on modules, and they can see your module regardless of their affiliation with your university or your course or anything like that. So for the course visibility for unenrolled learners, you have 3 options. Private, so that means that your course is visible on the HydroLearn modules page like it's listed, and people can see the about page, but that's it. They can't enroll and they can't view more. They can't see your outline. So public outline means that they can see your module on the modules page and they can click it to view more, but that view more is only going to show your outline, and then they can't follow hyperlinks within your outline. So they're not seeing the content in your module, but just the outline of it. And they obviously they can't enroll. For public, that is the most available form of that your module can take. So anyone, regardless of their affiliation with you, if they see it on the platform, they can view it, they can view more, and they can enroll. And for those settings, they are settings, advanced settings, yeah, and then course visibility for unenrolled learners when you scroll down on the side down here. And then all you have to do is type in one of those 3 options in between the quotation marks. Where is it? Here it is right here. And if you forgot the definition of those 3 options, they're right here. Let's see. Now, if you have a more targeted approach to getting your students enrolled in your module, we have 2 options for that. We promote the use of this invite because we've done it before and we know that this works, and it's really quite simple. So if you go to settings, schedule and details, and then look at the basic information, there is a link that will, that when clicked will take you to your summary page. All you have to do is share that link with your students via email, and then once they get there, they'll once they follow that link, it takes them to your about page. We also call it your summary page. We also call it your about page. And then they're going to see two buttons at the top, right under the title. It'll say view course or enroll in course. And obviously you would tell your students to click enroll, right? So they could get in your course. There's another option about invitations is you can set it to invitation only. So only the people who receive this invite link from you can enroll. So if you are particularly interested in tracking only your students' progress, you could do invitation only to restrict that enrollment to only the people you invite. So if you want to do the invitation, you could copy the link on your about page or do settings, schedule and details, and let me see, here it is. This is the link right here. So you could do right click, copy link, or you can just open it in a new tab, and then this is the same thing. This is your summary page / about page. And these are the buttons that they would see. I'm already enrolled in this course, but otherwise this would say enroll in the course right here. This is the other option, view course. Let's see. Okay, this other option is called batch enrollment. I have not tested this yet, but it's available. If you want to test it out, go right ahead. I'm not going to stop you. So you have the option to enroll all of your students at once with a CSV file. You would get that from your external LMS. So you would provide the emails from that CSV file into HydroLearn, and then that would send an email to those students to enroll in your module. And if you want to do batch enrollment, you do view live. Let me go into here. So the instructor, this is my live view. I click my instructor tab. I apologize for my internet. All right, then you click membership and then batch enrollment. This is where you would copy and paste that CSV right here. And you would save the role of the users being enrolled. They would be learners. And then you can enroll them right here by clicking that button. Let's see. And that's it for enrollment options. I'm going to check out the chat box. See, what did I miss? So Damien, we suggest that everyone leave your modules as public. That's the default. And we like to make this available. We like to make your modules available to everyone. You know, it's an open access idea here at HydroLearn. So we prefer that we make them public. Thanks, Melissa. Okay. Any other options, comments?
I have a question, Jenny. So if we are making it public, why do I need to enroll my students altogether?
So you need to enroll your students so that way they can participate in the discussion boards you may have. And also, when they enroll, they can see all of your problems, you know, your problem components specifically.
So only if you are enrolled, even if the course is public, you have to be enrolled to be able to see the full content, right?
Yes, you have to be enrolled to actively participate, if you will. They'll see the content, they can see videos, and they can read the text, but they can't
interact with the problems, right?
Yeah.
Right. And my last question here also is that, or maybe it's a comment, you know, if you leave it open and somebody else enrolls in it, there's no obligation on the instructor to do anything with it, right? Anybody can enroll. I'm not obligated to. It does not mean anything when you say somebody else enrolled in my course here, right? I mean, there's no obligations, no commitment.
No.
Now, this is also a comment, so if the course is open for enrollment, meaning anybody can just go there and see it, and even when they enroll, they can play with the questions and everything. If I'm using that module in a course this semester, for example, I may want to have it protected this way. I don't have others from everywhere, coming in. So in one time, I just ended up creating a copy of that module, that course, and made it closed just for my students who I gave the link to. Is that like, I think
Yes,
it's a good practice to do that sometimes?
Yes, that would actually be an excellent practice. So you can have, when you finish your excellent products at the end of July, you can have one of them that's publicly available for, let's call them others to use. Anyone on the internet can use it. And then if you want to restrict the enrollment or users in your module, make a copy for yourself and change those settings to private and invitation only. And in that way, you'll be able to track your students' progress if that's what you wanted to do with your module.
So I have a question, Jenny. So if you have students that you don't know that have just enrolled in it, and even if you do have, say, a private one for your class and a second one, but somebody has enrolled, are you still going to receive, so if they go through and do your assignments, are you going to receive all of that? And will it go like into your learning management system, or what, will you get a message that somebody is trying to send you things, or?
No. You can see their progress within HydroLearn, but it's not going to automatically just transfer to your external LMS, if that's what you mean, like your Moodle or Blackboard.
Okay, so if they do submit on some of the activities that you have, then they'll just get a notification that they can't submit it, or?
It'll be, well, to them, it'll look like submitted, but to HydroLearn, right? Because,
okay.
Yeah.
And then nobody ever grades it or looks at it, or?
I mean, yeah, I guess so. It's really up to you then. Now, Jenny, when somebody enrolls in the class, they have to sign in for an account?
Yes, they have to have an EDX account.
Right.
And that's it. Obviously, they wouldn't have Studio.
Right. So I guess when your students, when you send them the link and they go to the course to enroll in it, you will ask them, to enter their HydroLearn edX account, right? Right. Right. And maybe there's a way for us to track that person, track them in a good way. I mean, to see what they did on the system or something like that. But you are not going to receive any emails or notifications if somebody goes and tries to answer a quiz question or anything like that. Yeah.
I mean, you can sort of think of it like what we did with all of you for a HydroLearn 101. I told you to enroll in this course, provided you a link. You made an EDX account. I asked you specifically to make your usernames first_last, and that was for me, so I can associate your progress through the module with you as a person. And if I wanted to see how you're doing, I would just check on my instructor dashboard in HydroLearn 101 to see how you're doing.
And they will be able to see, you'll be able to see the username of that person.
Yes, I can see your username, and I can also look you up with your EDX email.
Right.
Either or.
There's a question from Willie. If the course is public, is it open to copying the module to use? Can I answer that, Jenny? Go ahead if you want to.
You can do it.
Well, if it's public, you can basically, anybody can copy and paste content, using the mouse and click and right click and copy and paste, just like, anybody can do it from any web page. However, if they want to get a copy of the module, they have to go and use the export link, just like you did with the template. There was an export link on HydroLearn, where they have to go and download that. They can download it, but to use it, they have to, actually to download it, they will be asked if they have an studio account, an instructor account, right? And that one we have control over. So we verify, if I get a request for an instructor account, I verify who that person is he really an instructor, their affiliation, and I usually ask them what's the purpose of the account. Are they gonna teach? Are they gonna use a course there? And to have some control over the copy, you know. But if they are approved and if they are okay, you know, they can actually download that course and reuse it according to the license option that Willie, if you put it there, I don't know, Jenny, at some point you'll talk about the different license options. So it really relies on the Willie and us, you know. If you put a course there, make sure you select, Jenny will go over that, which license type you want. And the person who's downloading that, they have to abide by that license.
Yes, and we are going to go over module content licenses next week.
Yeah. Did I do well in the answer, Jenny?
You did fantastic. Okay. I'm so proud of you. Any other questions for Dr. Habib? Okay, that's it. Thank you.
There's a good read from Christina here, so we will definitely look at it and see. I think she's suggesting stuff about the website, ADA, and we'll read that. We usually save the chat box. Jenny, do we do that? And then
catching up. Oops.
So on the topic of images and videos and copyright, Erin has shared with us how you can find images using Google Images that are available to be for non-commercial reuse. So you have access to the slides and there are the directions here, but I'll just kind of walk you through it. This is Erin's example. I thought it was pretty cute, so I kept it. So I searched for teacup poodles in teacups on Google Images, and this is what I came up with. Okay, is this my first search or not? Okay, now I don't remember what it is. So teacup poodles in teacups. I have to go back to the directions. Then click on tools. That's the step I'm missing. So click on tools and then usage rights. And if you're just planning to copy the image and use it in your module, you could choose labeled for non-commercial reuse. So it doesn't give you quite the same selection of images, but it does give you still some cute things that might be close enough, right? Or some, you're not probably necessarily looking for cute watersheds, but gives you things that'll be close enough that you can pick something. So, and then, like I said, the directions are in the slides, and again, here's the link to the Google. So thank you, Erin, for that tip and for the cute example.
So how do we still need to cite that source of that image in our course, or the fact that it's non-commercial reuse, you know, it does not obligate us to cite the source? I struggle. Maybe it's not a how to learn related question. It's just like any one of us using images from the internet, I guess.
That is an excellent question. And Jenny, are you writing down questions that we need to that are coming up today that we need?
I guess it's a question bigger than how to learn. When you use an image from the internet, even though it has a license, or do you still cite the source?
I mean, I think it's always probably a good practice to both copy the image and the URL so that you can cite the URL. All right, there's some other questions coming in about copyrights and images. I'm ignoring them right now because I don't have the answers, but hopefully Jenny is picking up on them and searching for answers for us. So if I ignore you, it's intentional, and we'll get back to it, though, I promise. All right, so I want to transition a little bit to talk about what is instructional content in HydroLearn. So we've been looking a lot at the whole constructive alignment triangle, and we've talked about learning objectives practically ad nauseum, and learning activities as a form of assessment. They count as a form of assessment because the instructor is collecting them, grading them, and giving feedback, and that's what makes that an assessment. If students engaged in a learning activity and didn't get any grades for it, I wouldn't necessarily count it as an assessment. And then, then the instructional content essentially is everything else. It's how you get your students ready to do the learning activities. It's what you give them that they need to know in order to be able to do the learning activities. So not just the step-by-step, go to this website, click on this layer, turn on this, calculate that. Those are steps in the learning activity itself. But how do you teach students about watershed delineation and why there are different methods and why they make sense or don't make sense? What's the content that comes before that? So in HydroLearn, we don't always call it background, but sometimes we call it background. Additionally, I mentioned this once before, but check your understanding items can count as instructional content. The difference is if you're using the check your understanding for a grade and students can just respond one time and then they get graded on it, then that would count as an assessment. But if it's an open check your understanding that doesn't get a grade, that students could maybe put in different things and try, so they're really self-regulating their own understanding of the content, then that counts as content. Knowing exactly where those two things fall in the definitions is probably not super important, but I think it's important to know you can use check your understandings to help students learn the content rather than for a grade. So I want to engage in kind of a discussion here. We'll use either the chat or you can unmute yourselves as we've been doing. I'm going to pose the question, how is HydroLearn 101 set up to keep you engaged and actively learning or actively processing the material? In that same vein, you might think about how is this different than a textbook? So discussion post, check your understanding. How did the check your understandings keep you engaged? The interactive feedback on the check your understandings. So Mark makes a good point about kind of chunking out the contents. You don't have one really long page, but it's broken into topics. This makes it easier because it breaks up. You have to click next to move on to the next, which breaks up your time spent cognitively reading, gives you a bit of a cognitive break, but also makes it easier to find if you want to go back to look for something specific. Frequent learning activities, interactive checks, text. Great, so you all are hitting on a lot of the kind of things that I wanted you to think about. So here are some of the main points I wanted to highlight, that there's short sections of text that are separated by images or videos, and that the check your understanding questions are in a variety of formats, so not just multiple choice, but we have the drag and drop problems and the matching problems, so there's kinds of different formats that make it a little more engaging. And those check your understandings are directly tied to the content, the text, the videos. So that's when we think kind of about active learning or active engagement in content. The other thing that we've been talking about a lot today is this accessible learning. So we have students with all kinds of different learning needs, whether they have auditory processing disabilities, visual processing disabilities, visual disabilities, auditory disabilities. We have all kinds of things that our students face. And also even just having English not as your first language and to be kind of immersed in this text and context that you're having to learn in a language that's not your first. So ways that we can support students with that is using short sections of text that are separated by images. So not that you can't have, if you want to have this much text, you can certainly have it, but put images or related videos in between to help students make connections. Make sure that with videos are very helpful, especially when you have the closed captions or transcripts on. Images have, when you insert an image in HydroLearn, you have to add the alternative text. The more descriptive your alternative text is, the better for a student who is visually impaired and using a screen reader. The screen reader then will read them the alternative text. So think about if a student were not able to see this image, what would I want them to know about it? That's what should go in that alternative text. And then also accessible in a way of equity is that the texts and softwares should be open source and freely available. So in this way, the students from a variety of economic backgrounds are able to get access. The conversation we had in a small group yesterday was about, I forget who it was, but someone had asked if we're seeing use of our modules outside of universities, people clicking through and looking through HydroLearn modules. And we think the answer is yes. Iman might be able to give more information on this, but we're able to look at click data and how people are clicking through modules and accessing around the world. And there do appear to be some places where they're being used and possibly outside of a university. Is that correct, Iman?
Yes. Yes. And we can definitely do better in terms of tracking the use, but we have a minimum or a minimal way of doing that currently.
And so thinking about, for me, those data were kind of exciting because thinking about how someone with just a cell phone in, say, rural Ethiopia could get access to your module and teach themselves about different hydrologic or water resources type issues. So thinking about ways that we can support students from a variety of backgrounds is really important.
And you know, sometimes, I'm sorry, Melissa, to add here, but you know, believe me, you'll be surprised by people using your stuff from all over the world without even thinking about it. And you'll find an instructor somewhere in India or Brazil or something, you know, who's consistently using a module because they find it useful, they find it, you know, well built. So I personally find it very rewarding. I mean, there's no financial compensation, there's no citation or anything like that, but just the fact that your material is being used by students somewhere else in the world is very rewarding.
Absolutely. So in keeping those kinds of things in mind, not just our own students at our own universities where we might have site licenses for different softwares, but kind of thinking more broadly, these are some of the things we hope that you'll keep in mind as you design your instructional content. So we're going to come back to the idea of backward design. We have our learning objectives, we have our authentic tasks and learning activities, and now we're going to think about the content. That's why we're doing it in this order, because we're following this model of backwards design, but also because it really sets us up for this constructive alignment. So obviously, if you didn't believe me on day one, by now everyone has, I feel like almost everyone has mentioned to me, this is a very iterative process. I keep changing my learning objectives. As I change my learning activity, things continue to shift. And so, but hopefully you notice those tweaks are getting smaller, whereas maybe on Tuesday you were making bigger changes. Now we're down to smaller changes. And so you may make some additional changes today. That's kind of to say that we're going to continue to tweak along our constructive alignment. So I'm going to ask you to go into your partner groups in just a minute. Actually, Jenny, I'm going to give you the rights to create those groups because I had not done that yet. And as you go into your partner groups, I am going to ask you to open your learning objectives and consider what topics do these cover. So when you're thinking about topics, that's usually in the task component, the task part of your learning objective. So what are the topics? And then look in your learning activities and look at the content you're asking for students. And think to yourself, what do I need to teach students so that they can successfully complete this task I'm asking them to work on? and then take a look at your module template, and you want the topics in your learning objectives and the content students need for your learning activities to be covered in your module template. Is that clear as mud? Any questions about those? So you have to have 3 things open: your learning objectives, which might already be in your module outlines. That might be fine. Or you might have to open that in HydroLearn. And pick one learning activity. I know a lot of groups have more than one learning activity now. And be thinking about, what do we need to teach students so they can successfully complete this learning activity? And we're just going to do this for 10 minutes because it's one of these activities to kind of get the juices flowing. We'll come back together, talk about a few more things, and then go into our partner time. Jenny, how are those groups coming?
Dan's rooms are ready. Do you want me to open or just keep assigning?
Yes, that's probably a good way to do it.
Okay.
So as you get your room invitation, go ahead and jump in your room. And if you're still waiting for that, you can pull up these items so that you're ready to engage in that conversation.
Should I have my invitation by now? I don't see it.
Jenny's working on it. It is a little bit of a tedious process, so.
Okay.
I'm here still with it.
I apologize. My head is not on straight this morning. I should have done that while Ida was presenting.
It is Friday.
It is Friday.
I'm getting married tomorrow.
And I'm getting married tomorrow, so I have a lot of things in my brain.
Who's getting married?
I am.
Really?
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
Ah, that's a great day.
It is. Yeah. In spite of having to stay 6 feet apart and wear masks.
Hopefully not to your spouse.
No, not to him. Yeah, we're already contaminated, so.
Okay. All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, so.
That probably didn't come off the way I meant it to.
It's all right, I understand. So everyone is assigned except Doug, Ahmad, Laura, you, and Ren, and me.
Okay. I have to get more coffee because obviously my brain is a little.
It's okay.
Melissa, I can tell you a lie. The day before wedding can be like the worst day of your life, right? That's what my wife told me. Like,
oh,
so
really? It's not the worst. I mean, I think we would have had a big wedding. Well, like 75 people. We were going to have a destination wedding. And so now we're down to 6 people. So that makes it a lot easier to manage. But there's still, like, the wedding coordinator's been emailing me while we're in these meetings and stuff. So just trying to keep my head on straight. Yeah.
Okay, just quick one question. I wasn't comfortable like asking in public, but so like, when I design, like when I try to think about like my module, like my just like material, of course, like I'm a student now and I never taught like at the college level or, you know, I'm not a faculty or anything, but like when I taught like like drinking water operator classes and stuff in Japan, I usually go like really like bottom up. Like, so I never thought about like, setting like learning objective, what is the learning activity? Like what do I want my students to learn? I usually go like, okay, what's the task they have to learn? It's like, I tend to go like bottom and up. So like, okay, this is the task I want them to learn. Maybe this is a good like activity or material they should know. And then like, okay, then this is the title of that component, kind of thing. So my like original way of thinking, teaching like didn't fit like what you're studying or like what you're sharing. So is it like typical, like people never study like education or this like tend to go bottom up, but it's actually better to set the goal first and narrow the topics down?
You are exactly right. That is the most common way that people who've never studied teaching will teach. And there's some research on the reason why. And the hypothesis or kind of the findings from that, although it's hard to pin down exactly why people do what they do, is because when you are a student and you're in the classroom, what you see is the content you get and the activity that you do. So if you don't learn about the whole idea of constructive alignment, you never see your teacher doing that planning part of it. And so yep, the most common way for faculty to teach is to think this is the content. In fact, usually this is the textbook, and I'm going to start with chapter 1 and then chapter 2, and then I don't like chapter 3, so I'm going to go to chapter 4. Maybe they will switch the order. And then at the end of the semester, they plan their test and they say, oh, I like this problem. Oh, I like that problem. Oh, that's a cool problem. And so then I'm sure as a student, you've experienced this where you had a test and you thought, why are they asking me to do this? That's not what they taught me. I never learned this. And so you get those things that are out of alignment when you plan it like that.
Okay.
Matt, you have a smile going on there.
Yeah, this is exactly how it works, or at least, how I did it also when I first started my teaching career. And maybe I'm still doing it until today. Jenny smiles. I don't know if she found any of these problems. But I mean, the funny thing, and Erin, I think you said it, that maybe it was Melissa, that, I'm a teacher. I was never taught how to teach. I mean, this is true, right? Maybe only folks that Doug and Melissa graduate in their departments, the ones who go become like high school teachers or school teachers, but university professors, actually, I never taught how to teach. We just learn it on the fly, or we learned it from others who were never taught how to teach. And so it's, it's a learning process, I guess.
Yeah, I might have to do better communication with my advisor, because what I'm usually getting, when I develop the module is like, okay, this is like the task, this is the topic like I'm going to develop, this is a learning activity, like he want me to transfer like from the PDF to HL and stuff, and I never focused on like I never focused on like discussing what's the learning like objective, per section or like per subsection, So that's like something like I might have to change, because so far like students have been developing learning objectives, but I think professors or like faculty, like who are teaching I hope like they have better learning objectives. So
Ren, are you talking about the modules that you're developing for Dr. Ames, or just in general?
Yeah. So right now I'm developing pretty basic one. So we have two big classes. Like one is like introductory level of like GIS. That used to be like 100 or 1,000 level course. So like freshman, sophomore take it after their GEs. And I realized that course has a lot of low cognitive learning activities. And I think that's fine, because unless you know how to use GIS, you cannot go a step further. Like you cannot use the engine, or like you cannot use that concept, or you cannot use Python script kind of thing. So I think that concept is okay, but like what's the big vision? Like what's the umbrella vision of like per section? I didn't know. and I have been coming up with like learning objective, but I wasn't so sure about it. So that's something maybe like I should change after his honeymoon.
Can I, I have a different question, Melissa, and maybe Doug also. Do we plan to do any assessment for those fellows right after the workshop or sometime after the workshop, or to get
like asking them their perceptions of the workshop?
Yeah, maybe just any feedback on this. And I think it would be nice to actually have it, to report it in our report with NSF or something.
That's a good idea.
I know this is work, so I'm willing to do something, if there's anything that needs to be done. I don't know if it's a survey or just a discussion, or maybe the last day of the meeting, the last day of the workshop, we can have a kind of exit interview with all of them. Or
I liked the way we did that with the first fellows group, but also a one-on-one survey might be useful.
Okay.
Just, I mean, like a internet survey might be useful just to gather some data.
I guess maybe like 101 was the pre, right? Or they did it before they engaged in the 2 weeks, something post,
You mean so the same survey that's in 101, or do you mean like a survey asking questions about how they perceived this workshop specifically?
Maybe both, or maybe one. I'm just thinking loud, actually. Yeah. Whatever makes most sense. Again, we're not trying to add work to us, but if we feel it's useful, at the minimum, I think we can ask about this particular workshop, and maybe also pre and post for whatever that survey asks of them. We can do the same thing after. I think it will give us some data points.
Yeah, I think I like the idea of both. So one thing with that, the survey that's in HydroLearn 101, I had been thinking the other day, should we give it to them again after this workshop this week? Or, so that survey is about teachers or instructors' beliefs. And I don't know how much this week would have shifted their beliefs, but I wonder, but oftentimes after you implement something different and your students, and you see your students' success with it, that's actually what can shift beliefs the most.
Right.
So I was wondering, maybe as they send in their student data, share their student data, but then that's kind of beyond the scope of, beyond the term of the fellowship. So I don't know if we'll get as good of a response.
Right, yes.
So we could do it both times. It's not like it's, like ask them to complete it at the end of the hackathon week, and then again, maybe at the end of the fall semester.
Maybe so, yeah, I think so.
It'll only take a few minutes.
I have info about the phone. I know somebody asked about how videos look on the phone. So I looked on my phone, and I don't know if any of y'all have looked at that, but the iframes and the videos show up great on the phone. And like, so the content's there and it's kind of reformatted to fit my phone screen. And then the videos, both the iframe and the video component work well as well. And like, if you want to see it bigger, it'll tilt when you tilt your phone and kind of open in its own screen. And it's kind of hard to show y'all what it looks like, I guess, but it does work on the cell phone for both of those components. So I just wanted to let you know.
Okay, cool. Can you, and you had to enable that in the settings?
No, this is just, I didn't look at the iPhone enabled settings, but I just looked at the module that I was working on, which I have not touched the settings from what they were originally. And it all looks, all the content throughout the module looks fine. The equations show up nicely. The videos look good. The pictures look good. So I didn't look at the iPhone enabled setting or the phone setting though. But I can look at that too.
Can you can share your iPhone with us by going to share screen at the bottom of your Zoom call.
iPhone? Oh, okay. A plugin. Okay, let me grab a wire.
Thank you, Dan. My head was, I was getting dizzy looking at you the other way around.
Oh, you're muted, Dan.
Yeah, I had my phone sideways, but she was still the other way. So I was doing this to try to see her straight. I don't know what's going on here.
And I guess I will, okay, 1 minute. So somebody was asking about like sharing manuscripts over HydroLearn. I think Adam Ward was asking that. I wasn't sure if he's asking about whether this is allowed in general or is this a good practice that we promote or.
I think on a module that's open to the public, sharing a manuscript that's not your own could get you in trouble.
Right.
But on a module that's closed to the public and it's only open to your students, you could share a manuscript that's not your own because then you're just using it for class. Or sharing your own manuscript on a public module would be acceptable as well because you can share your own manuscripts on ResearchGate or whatever.
Well, actually, I think it depends on the copyright of the journal. Even ResearchGate, I don't know, maybe Dan knows about this stuff more than I do. He's an editor for a journal, so I think,
yeah, if it's obviously if it's a preprint or if it's a personal copy.
What if we just provide the citation and then the students have to pick it up themselves? I think that's a good skill they need to learn. And if it's available, it is. And if not, then someone needs to fix that module and suggest different reading material.
But I think with a lot of open access now, you know, you can access it. So I'm not sure what's the point of, if it's open access, I can just then give them the link and they can actually access it. If it's closed on the journal site, then I should not give them a copy. But then you were saying if it's a preprint or if it's your own personal copy, you can still share it?
Yeah, so the journals have pretty strict rules about that. And usually the rules are very clear that a preprint, as long as it's not formatted in the journal's formatting, if it's just your Word document, you can share that.
Okay.
Or if you are posting it on your personal webpage, and that's where ResearchGate got a little trouble because people were claiming that ResearchGate was their personal webpage, and ResearchGate was kind of allowing that, but they've come back and said, no, that's a commercial website, that's not a personal webpage. So that's why I think Melissa's right though, that you can totally post articles on private modules. If it's a public module, I would just be a little more careful. Probably just provide a link or something.
I think the problem is that we don't want those modules to be private. So like, how do we? I guess if it's like the only reading you could possibly find, that would apply.
Well, the other thing is, okay, so you could put a link to the article on the publisher's website, and a lot of the universities already have subscriptions to those publisher websites.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and close the rooms because I just noticed how late it is.
Laura, you're trying to share the screen?
I'm not sure if it's because I don't have a Mac, but it says unable to screen share. It's trying to do, but it's not coming up.
It works on my PC with my iPhone, but we can play with it more later.
Okay.
But
bring them in.
Yeah, it gives them a minute before it pulls them all in. But you have to be on the same Wi-Fi as your laptop is on, and then you have to do the air or the screen mirroring.
Yes, I am. I did that. It just was unable to.
Huh. Weird. Okay. We'll keep trying with that. All right, well, hopefully those discussions went well. Were there any questions that came up when you were in your breakout rooms as you were kind of thinking about your constructive alignment between your learning objectives, learning activities, and instructional content?
Yeah, Melissa, Joanne and I had a question about linking to other resources online. So because we were thinking that there was quite a lot of background that the students needed, and some of that stuff was already out there, for example, like in Integrate modules or other online resources. So can we point students at those other types of resources and say, like, read the background here before you start on these activities?
Yeah, so great question. I think it kind of depends on if that's content you would expect them to come to your class with. And this would just be like for students who maybe don't remember or didn't have a good learning experience in their prerequisite type course, and you want to give them that background knowledge, that would be definitely an easy thing to do. If it's the content you want to teach for this, maybe we could like put in an iframe so the content, the text actually pops up. Because clicking links to read things outside, people don't always do quite as much. But yeah, we can link in resources so long as we're citing them and they're freely available.
And I guess also does not depend on, like, I think it depends on if maybe it's a one section or something in your module, but if everything is pointing to an outside module, then, you know, you might want to think, really, are you creating something new or not? I
think that's a good point as well, Imad.
I'm not saying this is the case, but just in general.
Damien's asking if we can iframe a unit or section in another module. You can, but it's probably easier to copy that section into your module.
Yeah, it's an interesting. We usually like try to either literally copy the whole thing and bring it to our module, or just copy and text the section. But I have not messed around with actually iframing another unit from. Okay, Jenny has something to say.
I have another recommendation. You can also, within an HTML text component only, you can use the jump to ID and then use the location ID of the place you want to reference. That's an option as well. And those are the instructions that within a unit are on the right side of the page, of every page, if you want to look that up.
Jenny, this is too complicated for me. I would like to see a walk through it, maybe tomorrow or later today, because I know exactly what you're talking about, but I think it's not as simple for people who are not familiar with Studio yet to clearly understand what you explain. That's an interesting way to do it.
I agree. That's probably a good thing to add it for Monday to present.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Tal has asked about the proper way to share papers to students in HydroLearn, about keeping a copy of the paper in HydroLearn and hyperlinking it. Yes, that's the proper way to do it. Dan, do you want to weigh in on or share what you were just sharing with us about journal manuscripts being shared within HydroLearn?
Yeah. So my recommendation is that you provide a link to the publisher's website to the paper, but also it's okay to put like if it's a paper that you've published and you have a pre-print Word document, etc., then you can distribute that freely. If you want to provide a link to it on ResearchGate and encourage people to request a copy there, you can, because most authors on ResearchGate, if you send them a note and ask them for a copy, you just have to be a little bit careful. I think our HydroLearn website is going to be sort of low visibility enough compared to the massive machinery of the publishing world that literally posting a paper directly on there, especially if it's one that you've written, is going to be fine. And then if it's somebody else's paper, then try to link to it out on the web somewhere.
Dan, I think you have to be careful about that. I mean, just because something's low visibility doesn't mean you should violate the rules.
Well, so you heard what I said first, which is you could do a preprint, and you could do you can put up a thing that says, you know, personally contact me for a copy of this, and all of those follow the rules directly without any issue for sure. So do be careful. If you, for example, ResearchGate, they're getting a lot of takedown requests from the journals right now, and ResearchGate's had to really ratchet things down and not let people post articles as freely as they did, say, 4 years ago. So obviously, the other thing you can do is use open access articles, and to the degree possible.
David, you mentioned that you have a question about displaying format code in the module instructional content.
Right. So one of the, in the group that I was in, there was a way to, there was a question about if you want to have some computer code that you want to embed in your instructional content, how do you format it so that it looks like code rather than just looks like regular text? And they were using the sort of a quote type format, but wondered if there was a better way.
So I think it depends on the code. What I mean, what kind of code is it? It's just
Python code.
Python code.
I think it was Python. Adam had it.
Oh, no, yeah, no, yeah, it's Python. And at the moment, I'm formatting it as a quote with a double indented monospace font, and it kind of looks okay. But it would be nice if there was a native kind of, this is a way to say this is a code block, and you should format it like a code block. And like even better would be if there was a way to have syntax highlighting in that. But you know, maybe that's tasking too much.
All right, we're going to set Jenny to work on finding an answer for you on that, Karen.
You might also screenshot your code and post it as an image. I've done that in several classes I've taught where I don't want them to literally copy and paste code. I'd rather have them go through the typing process just to digest the code as they're typing it in. And so if you screenshot it, you get the advantage of it's formatted, you get the color coding, you know, the syntax highlighting from whatever software you're using, and then you require them to type it in.
I agree. I thought about that, but I thought that this would be, because I've got basically, I've got a set of instructions that says, you know, write this code, then write this code, then write this code. And I wanted to have this as like a sort of a happy medium between just giving them all the code up front and what you suggested. So they still have to, they can have to copy and paste in bits and maybe digest it a little bit that way. But they don't have to, you know, laboriously write out every single little piece. I don't know. But
so Alex says that there was a 101 code formatted in the last section of 101. Is that true, actually? Jenny, do we have code there?
I'm racking my brain about where that might be. Unless he's referring to the equation page. I'm not sure.
Well, we can research a little bit more, and if we find some solutions, we can share it tomorrow.
Yeah, so we're definitely going to go through this chat box. There's lots of questions in here that we need to answer. Willie asked about making videos in something other than, in something that doesn't use closed captioning. I'm not super familiar with VidGrid, but I know it is a paid subscription, so I'd imagine that they would do transcripts with it and that you could upload the transcript into HydroLearn. If they don't, then we really do want to have some kind of transcript or closed captioning with the video so that it's accessible for everyone, even within your class if it's not needed, but you may have other people taking it up and that would be helpful for their classes. I'm happy to talk to you more about that. Joanne asked a question about units. Are we using English units or metric or either? I don't have an answer on that one. I would say either, but does anybody else want to weigh in?
I guess it's
use real world units, and the real world is a mixture of units, and students need to learn how to deal with it.
Right.
In our PC swim, we more or less leave it open, and so we leave it to the instructor. So if somebody outside the US decided they want to use it, they could specify it has to be like metric units. If somebody want to use it in here, so they could use the English units in the module as they do the activities.
The only thing we should do is we should refer to them as US customary units, because in England they use metric units.
All right, so Doug suggested GitHub for code, and then embed that GitHub site, your GitHub link into your module. Adam made a funny units joke. We're gonna move forward. There are lots of good questions. I promise you that Jenny will talk about them all on Monday. She'll have all your answers for you. Oh, I love Jenny. Okay, so we're gonna kind of, from here, what I want us to go into is thinking about and planning with our partners for engaging and accessible instruction. And so you've seen the HydroLearn module feedback tool. This is a screenshot of what we're looking for with regard to engaging and accessible instruction. Hopefully it feels familiar from all the conversations we've had so far today. I think we're going to talk more in the interest of time. We'll talk about creating check your understanding quizzes, inserting images and equations on Monday. And so, although there are HydroLearn 101 sections on how to do each of those things. So if you are gung-ho and want to work on that today as well, you are welcome to check out HydroLearn 101 or to ask for a technical expert to help you in your breakout rooms. I'd like to know, we've hit a lot of our main highlights. Of course, we have topics to talk about next week, but are there any things that you would like us to cover or revisit next week? Burning issues, things we haven't come up with. So go ahead and we'll use this link, and you can type in topics that you would like us to either cover or revisit for next week. General relativity. Somebody is making jokes on me today.
You can guess who that was.
Was it you, Dave?
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't sure if it was you or Adam's got Hogsmeade jokes or.
It's Friday. What
It's
Friday.
David, even though this presentation is flying under the radar, I think you should be careful about proposing general relativity. This is very serious, very. Just kidding. And by the way, your under the radar comment reminded me that even though HydroLearn is smallish right now, it has the potential to be highly recognized and used within the field as it continues to grow. So we do want to make sure we follow really good practices and principles.
I put one in there for Melissa. I hope it doesn't cause any consternation.
And this meeting is recorded, so if we get in trouble, we'll say that.
Get in trouble, we get in trouble.
People said that Dan said so. Oh, okay.
Hopeless. Marital or Marshall?
Well, I can't spell, obviously.
So Melissa, it looks like there's a lot of requests for topics that we would like to cover next week. So I have a motion here to make or a suggestion that we extend the workshop for another week to cover all these topics.
No, 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 no.
Iman, we're happy to have you lead week 3 of the hackathon.
If the fellows are willing to stay for another week, I'll stay.
All right, so I'll leave this this link up so you can continue to add your ideas. Also, some of you have seen you can upvote things that are important to you.
Christina is making a great suggestion that she will try to use GitHub for their code, and she will make a tutorial she can share with the group. So I'll take her up on that offer.
So I want to make a proposal of a topic, and it's a topic that I need to lead, but the problem is I'm not going to be here. And the topic came up yesterday afternoon when we were in one of our groups, and that is integration of data services and data storage and sharing in HydroShare, and bringing that into your HydroLearn environment and module. So that's probably something I should have done today or yesterday, since I won't be around next week. But maybe even if there's 10 minutes or 5 minutes today, I can at least say something about that.
We're actually over our time for today, and I'm going to send them into their partner groups. We're not meeting again this afternoon, but maybe Dan, you could work with Ren Ren to create some slides for that, and maybe he could share them next week if he feels comfortable with that.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And if we do it at a time slot when David's on the call too, then he can add in. But I'll talk to Ren and Olivia.
I could also cover some of that. I guess we should get a general sense of how many folks here actually know how to use HydroShare or would need instruction or guidance on that. Maybe it's already known by everybody.
Well, given that we spent 20 minutes on how to put a YouTube video in, I think we're definitely gonna, I mean, HydroLearn is probably less known. I mean, HydroShare is probably less known than YouTube, so it might warrant just a bit more.
Sure.
So I would definitely do it. I think if I had half an hour, a block next week, I would show how to create a resource, organize your data in it, and then link to it inside HydroLearn.
Great. And Christina mentioned that she and Tao might be interested in discussing that with you. So I'm going to move us into our partner groups now. So I can make my slides move. So you're going to continue working on your modules, and working on developing instructional content is our focus for today. One kind of additional thing to think about as you're looking at your module outline template and the sections, subsections, and units you've decided to include, you might consider what check your understanding questions you might put in each subsection. That might be something you decide to discuss today and maybe add in your module outline template, just to kind of keep note of it, or maybe you'll put it somewhere else, whatever works for you. And also start to maybe compile or make lists of the images, data sets, videos that you might integrate into the different sections and subsections to help students be prepared to be successful with your learning activities. As I said, you could do this by putting notes in your module outline, or you could create new documents, or you can really, it's up to you how you want to be thinking about this, but sometimes it helps to think about what you need to do and compile ahead of time. So we're not meeting again this afternoon. This is our end of our whole group time for today, although we'll of course be working in partners and we'll be here to support you. So by Monday morning, before we start on Monday morning, if you could we would like you to have built at least one instructional content unit in HydroLearn per partnership. You and your partners may decide to break up and each do your own instructional content unit. And so please make sure to email your educational or content guides once you have that, so that we can give you feedback. I'm going to go ahead and open the rooms. If you have any questions, you're welcome to stay before you join your breakout room. And if you're ready to jump right in, you're welcome to do that as well. All right, we have some people hanging out here. Are there any questions before we get started?